that one Lions playoff win in 1991? Yeah, Detroit fans were there.
Woodward Sports, where the fans are.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Morning Woodward Show here on the Woodward Sports Network. Thank you for joining us on a Thursday morning. Jeff Iafrate, myself. Of course, there's Fish in the studio, but we're going to ignore him for now.
You see his hat?
Why?
I did.
I might have a heart attack.
Good morning, Fish. How are you?
Morning, I'm good. Well, slightly good.
I know your team is choking right now.
No, they won, but they barely won. How do you blow a 38-13 lead?
Well, that's
the hell.
That's rugby for you, whatever the hell you're watching. Jeff, good morning. How are you, buddy?
I'm doing good. I went to the movies yesterday. Saw this movie.
How do you not?
It's called the Barbarian.
Oh.
It was cheeks. Don't go see it. All right.
Why didn't you like it?
It was weird. This goblin at the end and had her titties out. It's a lot to it, but it didn't make sense. It was a scary movie initially. And
that's a great start.
The plot, it's about a woman who stays in an Airbnb, and there's a man already living there.
Yep.
And it builds up. It's like, ooh, this is spooky. And then they get to the basement, and there's a monster down there, a naked monster. It just got weird.
Yeah.
So
all right,
overall, more of the story. Some things aren't how they were advertised. I'll say.
All right, fair enough. The Detroit Lions open up as favorites against the Washington Commanders for the first time in 24 games in NFL record. They've gone 24 straight games, Jeff, being the underdog. Think about that.
That's a long time. That's a long time.
24 games, 18 of which have been under current head coach Dan Campbell. Mm-hmm. Look, there's a lot of ways I could spin this one. And the conversation I at least want to have to start with this is, damn. I actually didn't believe it when I saw it. Your favorite maybe 1, 2, even if you're a bad team, you get one of those bad matchups, you're at home, they give you the extra 3 points, you're a 1.5 point favorite, 2.5 point favorite.
Right.
Just like Detroit is. Mm-hmm. 3 point favorite, so it's basically even because of home field. But 24 straight games, dude, shocked me.
And the last game was against P.J. Walker. The Carolina Panthers.
And they lost.
And they got shut out. So, and I got to say this too. The second team, New York Giants, they're favored this week against the Carolina Panthers. So, my overall reaction to it is I don't really care, and I don't think Lions players really care. You talked about it, 24 consecutive games as an underdog, the longest active streak in the NFL. And they're only 2.5 point favorites over the Commanders. So in bigger context, it's the longest streak in the Super Bowl era. So I'm sorry to crap on you Lions fans and me included, but the reality is this has nothing to do with the result on Sunday. This has, and Amon-Ra spoke about it, Panay spoke about it, and they kind of echoed each other's sentiments. Here's Amon-Ra's quote: "I don't really think it affects anything. A lot of us, at least for me, I didn't even know that we're their favorites. But I think for us, we don't care what the spread is. We feel like we're the underdog in every game just because of the history of this program. So we know the teams what teams are going to think about us. Yeah, they're going to play hard, but are they going to be on the details? Are they going to do this right?" And, people always say that your team is a reflection of your head coach or the mindset of your team or the identity of your team. And it's clear as day. This is what Dan Campbell's been preaching. It's not only the underdog persona, but it's the fact that who cares? Who gives a rat's ass about the Lions, about what people outside of Lions fans or just the general media think? You should go into this game just getting better. Like, if you improve what you didn't do well last week against the Eagles, everything else should take care of itself. Like Dan Campbell said it best, winning is a byproduct of playing better. If we can play better, if everybody can get better, he even admitted me as a coach, the coordinators, Adham, you would have liked that. He said the coordinators got to get better, so he's at your boy Aaron Glenn a little bit. But if they all get better, winning will be a byproduct, so
yeah, look,
I don't really care.
We'll get to that conversation from yesterday, but look, man, 3-14-1. That's their record under Dan Campbell. Right? So 18 games. I got 18 games to work with, and in 18 games, Jeff, they're 12-6 against the spread. Now, what does that mean? Vegas is inappropriately setting the odds, or that just the Lions are a team that doesn't go away, right? That don't quit, they're fighting, they're playing hard. This whole mantra, they're not winning games. But they're very successful against the spread, which is interesting. So, a betting man would look at 12-6 and say, well, I'm taking the Lions on the points.
Right.
But more important than that, that shows just how bad of a situation that was left here by Matt Patricia and Bob Quinn. I mean, you think of the salary cap, you think of the players. You traded Matthew Stafford for 2 first-round picks and Jared Goff. Jared Goff comes to town. Anthony Lynn is the offensive coordinator. And things are okay. Right before the season starts, there's optimism, and then reality sets in. Your offensive line, yes, we all agreed, was good. Jared Goff had a horrendous start to the season. Anthony Lynn had no business being the offensive coordinator. The rest goes on, right? And they, again, 24 consecutive games. They weren't favored at all in a single game last year. Think about that. This is the first time they are going into a football game as favorites under Dan Campbell. I think it's crazy. That's insane.
Yeah.
You play the Bears at home on Thanksgiving last year. You're underdogs. The Bears. That is telling of what was here before, how bad it was, what they walked into, how pathetic they were last season. Oh, man. You know when you want to sneeze, it just doesn't come out? Jesus Christ. My, eyes are flaming right now, guys.
Pop out.
Anyways, to what you said about Aaron Glenn and Dan Campbell. That is everything, man. That's why we do what we do, right? It got a little heated yesterday, but at the end of the day, Jeff, sorry. At the end of the day, you win and lose in football. All right? Player performances matter. The players have to go out and execute. So do the coaches. Everybody has to, right? It's a team effort. Yeah. Football is such a team
Takes
game.
all 11. Yeah.
It really does. And when the players don't go out and perform, Jeff, what's easier, replacing 11 players or replacing a coach?
It's always going to be the coach.
Who's responsible for those 11 players on the field at a given time? The coach. So, yes, again, I can take so many positives away from the Philadelphia Eagles game. But that has to come with the context of, I don't think Aaron Glenn had a good game at all. I'm not sure what the hell the preparation was leading up to the game. And I'm not saying that they didn't prepare. I'm sure they did. But hey,
they weren't disciplined.
You did not make a single adjustment in the first half. And in the second half, the Eagles adjusted. They're like, we're up 17 now, coming into the midway point of the third quarter. We're just going to hand this ball off. You're down 3 possessions. No chance you get 3 more. Lions almost came back.
Yeah.
But almost has become such a theme with this team. Almost. Hell, not even just this team, this franchise. Almost. We'll get to that at 8:30. Jam-packed show today. Lions injury news coming up in just a bit at 8:15. Anthony Broome joins the show to talk Jim Harbaugh's legacy at Michigan, the college football playoff expansion, and much more. And top of the hour, there was an odds list released for head coaches that are favored to get fired this season. Where Dan Campbell ended up on that list shocked me.
And it's not only that, it's who's around him and who's more favored and who's right behind him. You got to see this list.
I'm excited.
It's interesting.
We got Owen, 9:30. Talk about Michigan State, preview the game against Washington. Have some fantasy football, stardom, sit-ems. Thursday night football, of course, tonight. So, guys, I learned my lesson from last week. I'm benching Cam Akers. I'm not doing this again. Just going to bench him. When he becomes good, I'll play him.
I lost a friend in my league. He knew what I was going through with Cam Akers. That bastard picked up Darrell Henderson. Swept him right under my feet.
Yeah, I'm not worried about Darrell. I think everybody can. Everyone acknowledges that Cam Akers is much more capable back than Darrell Henderson.
Yeah.
He's got to clean up the mental side of the game. But let's wrap up favorites for the first time in 24 games. An indictment on the previous regime, an indictment on how bad they have been since Dan Campbell has taken over. They're just not a good football team. But, again, 38-35 loss to Philly after week 1. You can take away some positives. You have Jeff Okudah, who had a good game. DeAndre Swift had a breakout game. Hawkinson you can be concerned with. Amon-Ra St. Brown continued where he left off last season. Goff to Chark at the pylon was one of the better throws I've seen Jared Goff make in a Detroit Lions uniform.
It was beautiful.
That's why you went out and got Chark, and that's what we saw Jared Goff doing all of camp, all of joint practices, all throughout Hard Knocks. That's what you were seeing. So it came alive in that third quarter. It came alive in the fourth quarter. It was too late. And eventually, and we'll get to that at 8:30, it can't just be we were close, or it was too late, or we tried our best. And Dan Campbell spoke on it, so I can't wait to get to that later. But before we do, I got to tell you about how you can win front row tickets to the Detroit-Washington game. Just post a picture of you and your superior-looking partner and show us that you have outkicked your coverage. On Twitter, on Instagram, make sure you tag us and use hashtag Woodward Front Row for your chance to win front row tickets. That's right, to the home game between Washington and Detroit. Don't delay. Post and tag us before September 16th to enter. We'll be announcing a winner tomorrow.
It took exploring 50 different formulas and hosting countless taste tests, but we believe Gypsy Vodka is the smoothest vodka on the market. Don't believe us? Ask the owners.
We're Mike and Adham Kazanowski with High Five Spirits Distillery. We're in close to about 1,200 locations throughout Michigan. We wanted to create a brand that was geared more towards freedom, love, adventure, and at the end of the day, we really wanted to tell a story that inspired other people to take risk, follow their dreams, whatever that might be.
New to the game or a season better? OddsTrader.com has everything you need to make the right bet ahead of kickoff. Begin your handicapping journey with OddsTrader. Improve your edge by finding the best price on every game from sportsbooks in your backyard. Take advantage of the numerous sign-up bonus offers to pad your bankroll. Dive into key game statistics, player performance, and even account for the projected game day weather. Best of all, you can use the OddsTrader bet tracker to keep a log of your action. Welcome to OddsTrader, and best of luck.
Are you interested in expanding your career and making a difference in your community? The Academy of Warren for professionals and that have a passion for working with students in the K-8 department and more. For more information on how to apply, call us at 586-552-8010. We are the Academy of Warren.
And we are the Morning Woodward Show here on the Woodward Sports Network. Jeff, thank you so much for joining me this morning. 8:13. Jeff, should we be concerned with the Lions' latest injury report that saw Swift sit out practice, Frank Ragnow regarding his groin, Taylor Decker and his calf, backup guard Tommy Kramer, defensive tackle Michael Brockers, all on the report, limited or not playing at all, or practicing, excuse me.
My initial reaction is a lot of teams have banged up players. So this is the NFL. Guys are going to get injured. So I'm not too concerned. But the biggest concern for me is who's injured. And whenever your best unit is suffering injuries, it's definitely a cause for concern. Penei Sewell is healthy, of course. You know, Penei, the Iron Man, he's healthy. The Lions have decent depth at offensive line to fill some holes, like Logan Stenberg's been filling in for Vaitai while he's on IR, and he was pretty solid against Philly. But for me, like it's a wait and see approach. Like I have to see how these things develop, especially with Frank Ragnow. The groin flared back up, and his foot is now a little like injured now. I did not know that. So Frank, I'm a little worried about because he already played through injury against Philly. You didn't have him last year. He's the best player on your offensive line. So again, there's some concern. I mean, the Commanders is a game you ideally want to win. Again, not for playoffs, by the way. It's for other reasons. I think it's just better to not go 0-3.
Let's not do that.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, let's not. No. It's the second game of the season. We're not going to big picture it. Let's avoid that because we're going to go in circles on this. And we both had our expectations, none of which were that. So we're not going to acknowledge that on the show. Let's just move on from it. This is a must-win game, not because if you start 0-2, your chances of making the playoffs are significantly impossible. It's not because of that. You don't want to start 0-2 because you start 0-2.
And you go to Minnesota.
And that's probably 0-3, guys. So how about we just use common sense instead of everybody in the fucking chat and everybody on social media and everybody in the goddamn media here in the fucking state, how about we use just basic fundamental common sense and say, you don't want to start 0-2. Rocket science here. Let me call Bill Polian. He'll know.
Oh,
hey, Bill.
Bill Polian.
Hey, Bill. How you doing, bud? Hey, 0-2. Not a good thing, right? You don't want to start your season 0-2, do you? Not because you don't want to make the playoffs. Okay.
But this is...
Nobody wants to start 0-2.
No, they don't.
It's not good.
And this is why the injuries do concern me a little bit, because, Adam, you're facing the Commanders. What is the Commanders' strength?
I would say the Commanders' state
Their
was...
best unit.
Best unit, God, after week 1, Jahan Dotson and Terry McLaurin. But
They got to go
their
receiver
defensive
core.
front.
And then you have Minnesota, who just added
Zadarius Smith.
And then you get Seattle, which, you know,
I'm not too worried about Seattle,
Yeah.
even
And then
though
you
they
go,
beat the Broncos.
you face the Patriots at Gillette, which they have a pretty good defensive line. So my whole point is, the injuries do concern me because of who's you're up against. I mean, the offensive line played extremely well against Philly, I thought, and now you're going against the Commanders, which they have a very, very good defensive line. So I'm not too concerned right now, Adam. I mean, guys are banged up all over the league, but it just depends on how these injuries progress.
I stopped believing in the injury report once Bill Belichick abused it.
Well, yeah.
Number one. Number two, there should be always cause for concern when you have that many players that are starters on the list. But again, you have to report it, right? There are procedures that you have to follow in the NFL. I am not too caught up in it. Not worried about Swift, not worried about Decker. They'll be there. I mean, these are minor things, right? You're sitting them out as a precaution. This is nothing significant. This isn't somebody coming off a concussion from the game. Mm-hmm. This is not somebody who maybe had a severe sprain or anything like that. I'm not concerned, but again, 0-2. This is a must win, not a must win because the season is over. No,
yeah, that's ridiculous.
But guys, let's revisit last year. You lost to San Francisco. I believe the second game was away to Green Bay, and then I want to say it was Baltimore, and it just snowballed. You don't want to start 0-3, 0-4, 0-5. You don't want to do that. Especially with a team that we can all agree showed improvements in week 1.
Jalen Hurts and Darius Slay said that.
This was a team that showed improvements. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you, oh, we're showing improvements. We should all shut the hell up and watch this team play and be okay with anything that happens. It's a win-lose business. That's not my style. That's not my style. That's not who I am. That's not what I believe in. I think you have to win football games. I think you absolutely blew your first game of the season. You had every opportunity to win that game. You let it slip in the first half. You totally threw it away in the second quarter. The rest is history. You don't have a choice but to win at home. But to beat Washington. To start 0-2 at home. Where you have a 9-game home season schedule. So you only have 7 remaining. And if you go 4-3, 5-2 in the remaining 7, how many road games are you going to win? How many home games are you going to win? You got to play Buffalo. Got to play Minnesota.
Schedule gets...
Got to play Green Bay.
Gets rough.
Got to play Chicago. You haven't proven you can beat Chicago anytime soon.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just saying, when I look at this injury report, it's not that I'm super concerned about this upcoming week. Like I said, I don't take the injury report so seriously unless it's a significant injury. Like McCaffrey's injury. Remember we got that report going into last week?
He got cut by a cleat.
But it was a shin injury, and we were like, oh my God, his shin? Are you kidding me? Oh my.
Frank's concerns me because of he felt it pull or pop. He said his groins
are that's but we knew that going into the game.
Yeah,
so that's a little different. Nothing new there.
Right.
That's going to be a concern because if that is an issue again and he's not there this year.
Evan Brown, at least you got Evan Brown, but still, it ain't Frank Ragnow. I'll tell you that.
It's not going to help their team.
No.
Let's see what else we got. Whew. Speaking of injuries, got about eight minutes left, so I want to transition a little bit. We talked about who's on the injury report, what it means for the team. Jameson Williams. Mm-hmm. What will he be? What's his impact? What does this team need from Jameson 4 or 5 weeks from now? What does he bring to the table for the Detroit Lions? Year 1. Let's not worry about what the record is at the time or who's playing or what. Let's not do that. Let's just focus on Jameson Williams, the player, coming off an ACL injury. What does he bring to the team this year?
Well, I'm not going to say right out the gate he's going to, score a bunch of touchdowns or make a bunch of plays. I'm kind of tempering my expectations, but I think ultimately Jameson Williams will bring speed to this offense. You already have DJ Chark, I think a guy who can open up the playbook. You saw that pass Jared Goff had to him over, I believe, Darius Slay in the end zone. I think you got Jameson Williams doing things like that. He could take the top off. He can open up the field for guys like TJ, Amon-Ra, even DeAndre Swift. So there's a lot of things Jameson's going to be able to do to this offense without even touching the football by just simply running routes. So, and I do believe he's got a very deep route tree. Just another weapon for Jared Goff. And again, this is why you signed DJ Chark for a year. You don't know if DJ will be extended. Jameson may fill that void ultimately by the end of the year. So this year for Jameson is just to get reps, get better and better, and hopefully next year play an entire 17-game season. So right when Jameson comes back, I think it'll be perfect timing. I mean, you're in the middle of the season. We'll see if it's you play Dallas, Miami, Green Bay, like that during that stretch. It'd be nice to have a guy like Jameson. Another tool you can use for Ben Johnson, and it's already a strength. They're basically adding a strength to a strength. They're adding Jameson to the best side of the football in your offense. So I think there's a lot of good things he'll bring, but for people expecting him to come out right away and grab 100 yards a game, I just don't think that's realistic right away. But eventually, he's going to be special. And the speed he has is going to do great things with this offense. You can use him in so many different ways. Ben's going to use him in a lot of different ways. Running the football as well, I think he can do that. But I'm very excited to see him. Just another toy for Ben Johnson.
I like the way you phrased it. He's an option, right? I don't expect him to come out and take the top off the defense and light up the entire league. I think he'll have moments like that, but he offers speed that you can't account for. And it's very difficult to account for speed.
Got to account.
A guy like Tyreek Hill, look how small he is. Basically unguardable.
Yeah.
Why? Speed. Speed kills. And when you have a Jameson Williams to add to that offense that ran the ball very well, Jeff, you're onto something. You're onto something. And when I look at teams in the NFL and the way they're set up, we had this conversation last year after the Arizona game. All right, there was identity. You could identify what this team's game plan was, how they wanted to go about winning football games, and it made sense. And you saw it really translate the rest of the year. I think they finished 3-3 down the stretch. That game against Philly, why I'm so angry, what kills me, is stuff like this. You'll get Jameson Williams back. You'll get him. He'll be there. And I think he's going to help you a ton. But boy, when you run the way you did, when you have an electric crowd, it's really almost a playoff atmosphere at Ford Field, week 1. Philly on the road. It was basically a home game in the postseason. It was that loud. It was that electric. You let a 7-0 lead after you had forced a turnover on downs fall through your hands. And now you got Jameson Williams, who will be returning at some point in the season. And I think he brings exactly what you said. He'll bring more creativity for Ben Johnson, right? He'll be able to open up the offense. And not open it up that it's limited now.
Right.
But boy, as a safety, that guy's on the field. My job is to get as far back as I can.
And then you have Chark on the opposing side.
So now, especially with these teams that run, 2 safeties, or even single high, you're limiting their involvement in defending against the run. I love what Jameson Williams will bring eventually to this team on offense. I think it opens up a lot. I think it causes a lot of matchup problems. And we talked about this going into Philly.
Yep.
For as good as their defense was going into that game, what did I tell you? TJ Hawkinson, offensive line, DeAndre Swift. Yes, Chark, Reynolds are not game breakers, but you still have to account for them.
Yep.
Amon-Ra St. Brown. You can only decide so many times in a given game who you want to take out, who you're going to focus on. And the priority, like we agreed before the season started, was to stop Detroit's run game. But like we saw, when it got going, that offense was clicking. Play action, even though I would like to see more play action called, but that's fine. We'll get to that tomorrow. They're going to have every opportunity going into Washington to win that game. They're at home. They should be the favorites. They should win this game. They just should. I think Jameson brings a ton to the table. You think he plays Dallas after the bye? Or he skips that game?
You know what? I would, or he returns. He plays Miami at home.
We don't really have much clarity on this.
Yeah, I don't either. But again, I think Dallas is a possibility. I would probably predict after Dallas returning back to home, they play Miami. Maybe he plays at home. But regardless, that I'm not too concerned, and that's the whole thing with Jameson is I don't want to rush him. Like, this isn't a season where you're desperately need a guy like Jameson. It would be nice, it'd be beneficial to this offense, but he just needs to get healthy. Like, it's the same thing. I mean, you got a lot of guys you need back, like Josh Pascal, Levi Ozarike. Like, you need other guys to come back as well. But with Jameson, you want him to be 100% healthy going forward. You don't want anything to happen to him, especially with his frame. I mean, he is so quick. I think for this offense, it's going to cause, like you said, a lot of matchup problems. And for Jared Goff, I know he's not the best, you can't throw it on the field as accurately as a lot of other quarterbacks, but you saw the throw to DJ Chark, and I think that's it right there. I think Jameson can do things like that. Jared just has to find him, and I think ultimately he will, because he'll see the talent he has and he possesses. So I think Miami at home is a good expectation. You get to come back, you're at home, but maybe he goes to Dallas on the road. Either way, I'm not too concerned. Just don't rush him back, honestly. It's not like you need him.
Fair enough. Well, we'll take a quick pause. When we get back, Dan Campbell says losing close isn't good enough. The team needs to start closing and winning games. So I have an interesting theory on this. And again, a lot of overreaction Mondays. I think there's a lot of things you can say that are fair about Dan Campbell, one of which I want to address at 8:30. But we'll do that when we get back. But I got to tell you about our good friends over at Planet Fitness, home of the judgment-free zone. You can start today for $0 down, $10 a month. Your fitness is essential. Make sure you visit planetfitness.com or one of their many Metro Detroit locations to sign up today. Take 30, 45 minutes out of your day, guys. Take care of your fitness. It's so important, both physically and mentally. Get you a break from work, from your wife, your kids, whatever the hell your situation is, whether it's your husband, I don't care, your husband, your cousin, your mom and dad. Just if you need it, 40 minutes, guys. Go work out. Take care of yourself. Take care of your body. You'll feel better. When you feel better, everyone else around you feels better. Check out planetfitness.com.
At work and at home, we're there with smarter security solutions. Featuring complete automation with customized alerts and more. For over 90 years, we've been the company that's been counted on to protect what matters most, all with personalized service and care. Right now, for a limited time, receive a free video device plus free installation with a new home system. Guardian Alarm. We protect Michigan.
When you need apparel, there's only one place to go. Big Frog in Novi. With no setup fees, no artwork fees, no minimum, and a 24-hour turnaround, you can have your whole team outfitted in no time. Embroidery, direct-to-garment, vinyl, and screen printing, Big Frog has it all in all the styles you want. So whether it's a sports team, fundraiser, school event, or corporate needs, Big Frog is your one-stop destination. Visit bigfrog.com/Novi or call 844-4-BIG-FROG.
Let me tell you about our friends at Alta. Because, guys, at Alta, uptime matters. Alta Equipment has everything you need to get the job done. You have a big project coming up, have Alta cover you. Call them today, 844-GO-TO-ALTA. That's 844-GO-TO-ALTA today.
All right, we're back. 8:30 in the morning on a Thursday morning. Thursday Night Football tonight. Can't wait.
It's a good game.
Oh, yeah, very good game tonight. Jeff, Dan Campbell says that losing close or coming up, almost there, it's not good enough. And obviously I agree 100%.
Yeah, Jared said the same thing.
I share this. That is my absolute I will never back off mentality. 100%. Not good enough. You lost by one, not good enough. Because if it was good enough, you would have won, right? But I don't want to get into my side of it. I want to get to his side. Mm-hmm. This is a team that's now 12-6 against the spread under him as a head coach. Now, if you're a betting person, this makes you very happy. But we need to offer some context on that 12-6. They're 12-6 against the spread. And in those 18 games, how many times have they been the favorite?
Not one.
Not one. Not a single one. The Sunday will be their first. But those 18 games you have played under Dan Campbell, you've never been a favorite. Whether you were 3.5-point dogs, 6.5, more than a touchdown, 2 scores. You were always playing with points, technically. So that record is very deceiving. And like Campbell said, coming up close, short, it's not good enough. And eventually you're going to have to win games. And what was the agreed upon expectation from at least us two on this desk going into the year? They had to win more games and show improvement.
Yeah.
I don't need 11 wins this year. I don't need to be unrealistic with this team, where they're at. But what I need is for you to show me that you can coach, that you can make improvements. And I only have 1 game sample this year. I'm not going to freak the hell out and tell him, you need to fire this guy or he shouldn't be in a job. No, we're not doing that. Absolutely not doing that. But I could look at Jim Schwartz and say 3 wins to 6 wins to 10 wins. Okay. So I could buy in 3 wins last year, 6 or 7 wins this year. And then you make a run for the division next year. And again, what's my expectation? I always tell you guys, I've never changed this. By year 3, you should be contending or winning your division. You want to save your job, that's how you do it. And if you only want to use a 1-game sample size right now from this season, the Vikings look like they're going to be a problem for a few years. They look like they got the right coach. Kirk Cousins has never looked better. Justin Jefferson, wow. So eventually Detroit, this football team is going to have to get to that point. Not just worrying about everybody else around us getting worse, but this team getting significantly better. And you do that by draft picks, free agency, which Brad Holmes so far has shown he's very competent in. Especially on the draft pick side, he's fixed your salary cap, so now you're going to have money to spend. Oh, and on top of it, you now need just a little bit of a win total boost, right? 3 last year. You give 6 or 7 this year. I can legitimately say, okay, there is at least noticeable progress. Is it to my standard? No. But you know what? It is enough that I can give this guy a 3rd year and say, hey, Dan, this is the year. Year 3. Contend for the division. And if he falls a game and a half short, and the Vikings or whoever wins the division, we're just that much better. But they're a wild card team.
Yeah.
Is anybody actually upset?
Keyword contending. Contending for the division.
But there's a difference between, quote, contending for the division and then just finishing in 2nd place. Right? There's a very big difference there.
Context.
So going into, I am so far ahead, and I totally understand, but please bear with me because I want to get this point across. So you go into that 4th year with Dan? Now it's put up or shut up. I mean, at what point is it you have to prove something? Because then you're just Jim Caldwell at that point, right? You finish 2nd place again. Let's say you go 10-7. Vikings 11-6 or 12-5 3 years from now. You're just Jim Caldwell, and that you haven't won a playoff game, and that you haven't won a division. Right? You know where I'm getting at with this? So that's why it's a must-win against Washington. You got to win the games that you have an opportunity to win. Don't let them go. It's already hard enough to win in the NFL. Shooting yourself in the foot or giving teams extra points or short fields of play is worse. And that onside kick is the equivalent of a turnover. You had the pick 6 from Goff. The onside kick was basically a turnover. Because that's what happens when your quarterback basically starts at the 25-yard line, throws the ball downfield, intercepted. They start at their own 45, 5th midfield, whatever it may be. Short field position, they go down and get you 7. Go win some games. Close enough is not good enough, Jeff.
And I love that Dan said this, by the way, because this has kind of been the whole moral victory discussion that Lions fans have been having. And with Dan acknowledging it, I mean, he's self-aware. I mean, he knows even last year when they beat the Arizona Cardinals, they blew them out. Like, that was the first game, I think, in Dan Campbell's tenure where the Lions played a complete game. They took advantage of an opponent that was coming off a short week. They obliterated the Arizona Cardinals. And I'm not saying you got to do that, but what I am saying is, like you said, you have to win games you're supposed to win, or at least you have a good chance to win, like this week against Washington. It's a very winnable game. Like, if you go in and beat Washington, Like, not only does that, it sells to your players, but Dan Campbell's been preaching this. Like, we can't continue to make these mistakes. And it's not just from a player's perspective, it's coaching too, getting in your own way. Like, I think that's been the Lions thing too, even last year, those close games. Like, we had this discussion. How many games would the Lions win last year if they just closed some of these games? Or offensively, you scored more points. Like, context does matter, but it's hard. Like, you talk about their record against the spread. If they win 5 games this season or they have a rough start, even if you sit here and say, well, they were close in a lot of those games.
It just puts so much pressure on the next season,
It does. It's a ton of pressure. Like, this is stuff that Dan has to correct now, because even with Jim Caldwell, like, you brought him up, I'm glad you did. Because the seasons with Jim Caldwell, you'd start off slow and then you'd pick up towards the end of the season. Like, this has always been, I feel like, a Lions thing. Like, especially with Matthew Stafford, always having to do a fourth quarter comeback, always having to bring this team back. From a Lions fan perspective, I know you just want to go in and outplay the team from start to finish. You don't want to have to play catch up in the fourth quarter, clawing, trying to get back in the ball game, and at the very end, you're like, well, we lost by 3, or we lost by whatever it is, a touchdown. The Lions have to come out and make a statement. And I'm not saying you got to blow out teams, but what I am saying is take care of teams that are beatable. Like Carson Wentz this week in the Washington Commanders, yeah, they're 1-0. But they struggled, or they almost lost to the Jacksonville Jaguars. So it's a very winnable game. And I'm glad Dan, and not just Dan, we talk about the team reflecting the ideology of your head coach. Amon-Ra, Panay, Jared Goff, they all feel the same exact way. Close enough isn't good enough. You got to go out and at least be the better team from start to finish. So we'll see. They have a lot of things they have to correct, and that's kind of the whole, how am I going to base Dan Campbell? Like, I like Dan. I think he's the right guy right now. But the most important thing is, through this whole 17-game season this year, the big thing I would be looking at is, does shooting yourself in the foot or getting in your own way, does that keep happening from week 1 to week 17? Like, that's the thing I'm going to be paying attention to, because as long as the Lions aren't beating themselves, and I'm talking about defensively, I know they don't have a lot of talent, but still, like you said, it does fall on coaching. So we'll see, but I'm glad he's acknowledging it, because he's self-aware, and I think it's one of Dan Campbell's best traits, is he's self-aware, and he knows, like, we talk about what we talk about on the show, but he knows exactly what the media's talking about. Like, he knows he has to win these games. So I think he'll be just fine, but you can't keep shooting yourself in the foot. That's the overall message for the Detroit Lions. We'll see how much better they get this week.
My question to you is, we typically do a rundown on Friday, so I'll save it, but you just look across the board, position to position. Let's just focus on coaching. Ron Rivera, Dan Campbell. Who's got the edge Sunday?
I mean, resume-wise, probably Ron Rivera.
Resume-wise, but again, for that game,
like, he's been
who
a
are
coach.
you more confident in to put together a game plan that'll win you a game? Ron Rivera or Dan Campbell? Keyword, win you a game.
Would it be bad if I said Ron Rivera?
No, it's kind of the point I'm making right now.
Love Dan, but it just 3 wins. I can't confidently say Dan yet.
You know what's funny? The league admitted, by the way, that Jalen Hurts' pass was intentional grounding and that the officials missed it.
Right.
And I had people come up to me and within the network be like, dude, like, I can't believe the league admitted it. I'm like, this has always been the case. Like, how about you call it on the field? Like, that is so traumatized with that situation. But regarding Dan Campbell, his comments, he gets it. He knows he's not in the league long if he doesn't win. As much as we may like him, as much as Fish may like him, you may like him, if he is, at the end of the year, let me do the math in my head real quick, excuse me, he is a 7-22-1 head coach. I think I did the numbers correctly. 7-22. No, I did that wrong. He's a 7... God, I'm losing my mind right now. 7-16-1 coach. Or a 26-1 coach, excuse me. 7-win coach through 2 years. It's not making you feel good.
No, that's Joe Judge territory.
But he's nice. But that's Hugh Jackson. That's Joe Judge. Like, so why I'm pressuring for wins is because it takes a lot of pressure off. Winning is the answer for everything, guys. We all know this. And he's going to have to prove that he can go win games. Not only win the games, Jeff, that you expect to win,
but out-coach opponents, too.
And go win a game you aren't expected to win.
Right.
And I'm not talking late in the year when you're 1-10-1. or you're 2-12 or 2-13-1. No. Not then. Not when the season's over. Not when the team has a bye week in the playoffs. Win a game like the Arizona game.
He outcoached Cliff Kingsbury.
But not when your season's over also, right?
Right.
I really believed they had a chance to beat Philly. They let that ball drop. We're going to move on to Washington now, and we'll focus on Washington. But that cannot be a repeat of last week.
No.
Sunday cannot be repeated against Washington. That would, I don't want to say panic, but that would really send me into a place I don't want to be 2 games into the year. Because I do think this football team got better. I do think the coaching they have is not as bad as it used to be. I actually think the world of Ben Johnson. I actually like Dan Campbell from a leadership standpoint. Aaron Glenn drives me nuts, but we've all had this conversation about him being poised for a future head coaching job. I expect more out of Aaron Glenn. So I'm not going to give them a pass anymore because it's only the second season and it was only week 1. That's fine. But do me a favor, win some goddamn games. And don't drop the ones that are right in front of you at home with a sold-out crowd for the first time since, 2019? By the way, all you Lions fans that go to Ford Field, stop being a bunch of fucking idiots. How about that? You lose a game, go home.
The fights.
Stop fighting, you bunch of losers.
Something-
Who fights? Who fights?
There's something in
Okay,
that beer.
you figured that would happen because that's what Lion fans do. Some
So
of them are
stupid.
angry they lost. Some of them are like, oh, you thought you were going to win that game? And then boom, someone pushes or punches, and then there you go. Well, see you later.
I don't know what was in that beer at Ford Field, Fish.
Well, yeah, not to mention they were probably drinking,
Oh, they were
getting
drinking.
hammered.
Of course
and
they were drinking.
expecting the Lions to win.
But to
yeah.
speak one more thing I do want to bring up too is you brought up Dan also being in a position like last year where he beat the Arizona Cardinals. I think this year it's hard to evaluate. You have to look at a lot of things for Dan this year. Yes, wins are important. You got a W win total. We've said that on multiple occasions. But more importantly, it's about players getting better and the mistakes being eliminated because teams are going to make mistakes. But last week, like those mistakes can't happen again, to your point. So going forward, like that's what I'm going to be watching against Washington is can you out-coach Ron Rivera? Ron Rivera ain't nothing special. But the point is, if you can't out-coach Ron Rivera, like, what are we doing? Go out there and put together a game plan to beat this team. Like, and I get where you're coming from.
That's strong, Jeff.
But if you lose close, I get that. You can look at it however you want to look at it, but it's just not good enough to me. Like, it depends. Now, context does matter, but
yeah, but no. Look, I do agree with that. That's very aggressive. It's very aggressive, but I do agree with it. But I'm not asking for the world either. All I'm asking, Jeff, is that on Sunday, if you're down 7 going into the half and they get the ball, how about we chill and just go down 7?
Right.
Instead of calling a timeout, giving them a chance to go over what they want. You know what? Hey, we're going to take a chance here. And then they get it, and then they go end up with a field goal. Mm-hmm. And then they come out of the break and make it 17. Please, just don't shoot yourself in the foot. Do not. As much as I can kill Nathaniel Hackett, can I kill him for Melvin Gordon and Javonte Williams fumbling at the 1-yard line?
Right.
Russell Wilson not converting any of the throws prior? I can kill him for the 64-yard field goal attempt, sure. Hey, you have Russell Wilson, put it in his hands. And forget the hindsight on it. It's just, it doesn't make any sense. If he would have made it, it would have been like, damn, that was a ballsy move, coach. 64-yarder? Why didn't you just trust the Russell Wilson? Oh, well, we trusted the kicker. Like, Dan, just coach a game where I don't have to show up on a Monday and question you. Please, that would help me so much.
And that's what I mean by not literally, like Ron Rivera, yes, he's been to a Super Bowl, but I'm talking about lately. Like with this team with Carson Wentz.
Oh, I agree.
Yeah.
Like I'm from Dan's
resume-wise,
perspective, though.
yeah.
I don't want to have to show up with you on Monday
No.
and us have a conversation. Oh, well, Dan made another pivotal a key 4th down decision, even though he only went for 1 on the weekend, which was phenomenal, by the way. Ended up in a touchdown.
Yep,
but
Jamal Williams.
they had no choice. They had to go for it because they were down so many goddamn scores.
Right.
It wasn't about being aggressive. Kicking an onside kick in the 3rd quarter with 3 minutes left, to me, is not aggressive. It's against conventional wisdom. And yeah, Adam, it's easy to say that in hindsight. If they would have got it, you would be so happy. My job is to talk to you guys after the game. My job is to point out mistakes and positives and what I see on Sundays. And there was nobody that was more pissed off before the onside kick than me, because you were down 10, the stadium was rocking, and we all know how much the fans have an impact on a defense for energy in a game where you're losing. You could have kicked off and tried and attempted to make a stop. And what'd you do? You gave them a short field, down 17, the game's over. And then you take out your crowd by doing that as well. I just don't want to have to question decisions. Go out there, call a good football game. And if you want to be aggressive, I can respect that. But how about you be aggressive in, I don't know, moments that actually benefit you? Where the benefit outweighs the risk? Where it's where I can sit here and say, you know what? I would have done that too, actually. Guys, you're being too hard on Dan this morning.
Right. And I think there's a opportunity for Dan as well. Like, if the Lions lose against Washington, I don't think it's the end of the world. I think context is really what matters. Like, if you play Washington and it's tight knit to the end of the game and they win by a field goal, whatever it is, a game winning field goal, then I think you can take some things out of it, depending on how players look as well. Like, if Aiden has a bounce back game, Jared plays better. Like, if the team looks better and they lose, I think there's still things you could take away. But I think it's ideal they get a win here and not fall to 0-2 going to Minnesota.
All right,
we'll see.
When we get back, Anthony Broome joins us to talk about Michigan football, Jim Harbaugh's legacy, and the college football playoff expansion. But before we go, Jeff, our good friends over at Chili Peppers.
Yes, guys, you can join the Chili Pepper Club at Chili Peppers Tanning. You'll get all the best deals, plus they will be all competitors by $5. Chili Peppers has the hottest bulbs, the hottest deals, and the darkest tans. 26 locations and more on the way.
Chili Peppers Tanning.
You're an ugly guy, and that's okay because you've outkicked your coverage with your significant other. Well, that's good news for you. Their hotness and your notness could get you front row tickets. The Woodward Sports Network is giving you a chance to sit front row for the Detroit versus Washington football game. That's right. We're looking for the ugliest guy and the hottest girl. So fellas, come on. If you know you've outkicked your coverage, here's your chance. Post a pic of you and your superior-looking partner on Twitter or Instagram with hashtag Woodward Front Row. Follow us and tag at Woodward Sports. Hurry, because we'll be selecting a winner September 16th. We can't wait to see you. Well, her. From the network that always outkicks the competition. Woodward Sports.
For a limited time only, all new burgers and loaded fries at Big Boy. It's not a Slim Jim, it's the Big Jim. The chili cheese is such a tease. Guess what else is new? The bacon blue. How about upgrading those fries? Chili cheese fries, baked potato fries, nacho fries, what will it be? Satisfy those taste buds at Big Boy.
Hey, this is Mr. Kearney, Chief Academic Officer at Academy of Warren. I want to welcome you to the brand new field house. The state-of-the-art facility has a regulation basketball court, volleyball court, soccer field. It can be used for 7-on-7 football. Our K-8 academic features AM, PM, latchkey, small classroom sizes, Learning Street, futuristic media center, free breakfast and lunch, Houghton Mifflin curriculum, academic games, K-8 athletics, and more. Enroll today at academywarren.net.
As your official drink of the summer is here, the Mulligan made with Gypsy Vodka. When you're out on the golf course or you're out in the backyard hanging out with me and Jeff having a barbecue, the Mulligan is the ultimate drink for you. It's your go-to as well. Iced tea, lemonade, Gypsy Vodka mixed, 8% alcohol. The Mulligan is calling your name. Just make sure you drink responsibly, unlike all those Detroit Lions fans on Sunday.
You got a point.
Oh, goodness. Let me know whenever we have Anthony, and we'll continue on with him. But I did want to bring up Jim Harbaugh's legacy at Michigan, Jeff. Jim Harbaugh, for all his, quote, failures, what is the definition of failure? Turning around Stanford, an academic program, into a 12-win team one year? And then going to the NFL, 3 NFC championships? And then 1 Super Bowl appearance?
Yeah. I think
and then back to Michigan.
All that resume in the NFL, I think that's what...
How many times do you see coaches go from college to... And some of the great ones.
Yeah.
Go from college to the NFL and they absolutely blow it. Nick Saban, for example. So what is our definition of, Harbaugh's failures? What, that he hadn't beaten an Ohio State team that was coached by Urban Meyer all those years? And that his first crack against Ryan Day, he beats him? What is our definition of failure with Jim Harbaugh? I don't see failure. Yes, the bowl game losses. Yes, not winning a Big Ten title up until last year. Yes, not beating his rivals consistently enough. Sure, but what the hell was Michigan before he showed up? He has an innate ability to show up, turn around any situation, just like the Niners, just like Stanford, and make something out of it. You just came off a college football playoff appearance, and now you have J.J. McCarthy. We are joined by Anthony Broome. Anthony, good morning, bud.
Looks like he's frozen.
Oh, he's frozen? Oh, no. Damn it. Well, never mind. Jeff, we'll continue the conversation for now.
About Jim Harbaugh.
We'll see what we can do. But Jim Harbaugh, I don't see failure there. When you finish the season, or excuse me, during your time in Michigan, now let's start in the Stanford days. He came to Stanford, they were unranked. They reached 4th in the AP polls by the time he left. He came to Michigan, they were unranked. They got as high as number 12 in his first year. Number 2 in the country his second year. Number 7 his third year. Number 4 his fourth year. Number 7 his fifth year.
Then the
COVID year, disaster. And then last year, as high as 2, college football playoff appearance, Big Ten champions. Failure?
Most wins since he was at Stanford.
Is that a failure?
No. With Cade McNamara. And listen, it's not a shot at Cade McNamara. The reality is, with JJ, I just think how dynamic he is. Like, he never had a quarterback, I don't think, as good as JJ. But looking forward for Jim, I think, last year was a chance, and he did. He quieted a lot of haters. I mean, questioning Jim Harbaugh. I mean, there's a lot of things you could bring up about Jim, but what he did last year was special. I mean, beating Ohio State, say what you want, still did it. Made the college football playoff. It's about how he builds off of that. That's the most important thing to me. And now you have JJ at the helm, and I think he has a chance to do the same thing. I think the whole narrative with Jim, especially like in 2017, for example, 8-5, you followed up 10-3, the following season 9-4, and then the COVID year, and then you get 12-2, you make the college football playoff. I think that narrative is quieting down. The point of it is, though, not only can you make the college football playoff, but what's the ceiling with Jim at Michigan? And your Dabo Sweeney point, bringing in that dynamic quarterback, I think is excellent, because if you look at Jim right now with this team, JJ has a chance to do something special.
I do agree. And the ceiling is Harbaugh has never won a championship.
Right.
Ever. Not at Stanford, not in any part of his career. He's won a championship. That's interesting. So his ceiling is he can get you there or almost there, but he has never delivered in his career so far. That is fair. But, boy, we talk about coaches, and yeah, he's quirky and he's weird, and the way he goes about whatever. Not a Sean McVay, not outgoing, but I don't need him to be. The guy's a damn good coach, damn good recruiter, and what I think J.J. McCarthy brings to the table is that next step, that unlocked ceiling, at least in the college level. Because I'm sorry, I think he was absolutely phenomenal in the NFL. You'd have to be insane not to acknowledge that. So at Michigan now, he's won the Big Ten. He's gotten to a college football playoff. Now it's, can he win a college football playoff game?
That's the next
one. Can
one.
he get to a natty? Can he beat Ohio State in Columbus this year? I'm feeling better and better about Michigan as the days go on. I am excited for the Big Ten schedule. I want to see J.J. McCarthy against the Big Ten teams. They got a big game against Michigan State this year. They've lost 10 of 14 to Michigan State. Michigan State, I believe, have won 2 straight, and I don't believe they are going to win 3 straight. I already have Michigan from now booked, winning in Ann Arbor. But the point where I'm getting at with this is he has this program at a level that it hasn't really been in a decade, 2? 97, the last time you were really at the top of college football.
Right.
2004 was your last Big Ten title before last year. I really like the direction Michigan's taken.
I think they have a chance to face Ohio State, both teams being undefeated. Like, I think that's
realistic.
I think that's what I think is going to happen.
If I'm the college football playoff committee, I look myself in the mirror very hard.
How can you not put both those teams in?
And I have to consider putting both teams in The only way they don't both get in is if Georgia and Bama do what they did last year. One goes undefeated, the other team beats them in the conference championship game, and then both end up in the playoff.
Right.
That's essentially what's happening with Michigan and Ohio State in theory. Not to that extent because they can't play each other in the Big Ten championship game, but I think you get where I'm going with this one. So as long as Bama and Georgia aren't, in lockstep, they are clearly the two best teams in the country. I think you'll make a case for one SEC team, and if the table runs out how you just played it out for me, Michigan and Ohio State, the higher seed being the Big Ten champion, whoever it may be. Mm-hmm. And then you look at a Clemson. You look around the country at an Oklahoma. You look around the country for a USC, another conference champion somewhere to take that final spot or not. But I'm Brady Hoke went 11-2, 8-5, 7-6, 5-7. Not the same. Who the hell is comparing? Please don't tell me we're comparing Harbaugh and Fat Man Hoke. Please stop this. Please stop this, guys. Have some respect for your head coach.
Yeah.
Not even a fan of your goddamn football team, and I'm telling you, have respect. George says, I won a national championship. And you know what, George? You know how you get that? Better players, better quarterback play. And I think as of right now, going into next season and really the remainder of the year, you will have better quarterback play. We got a few minutes left. Anthony Broome joining us this morning. Anthony, I'm sorry about the technical difficulties. Not sure what the hell was going on, but I got to ask you, we're talking about Harbaugh and his legacy. Have we been unfair? But maybe it's easier for us to have this conversation now that he does have a Big Ten title under his belt and he has beaten Ohio State.
I think that legacy questions are fair. I mean, it was never in the plans for him to take 7 to 8 years to win a Big Ten title, but that's the way the only thing that matters now is what happens next. I think you can certainly argue there's been a lot of potential left on the table, but he's still been a stabilizing factor, and for the most part, they've won the games they're supposed to win. It's been those ones that are kind of toss-ups that they've struggled in. So last year felt like a reversal of fortune in that, but right now, I mean, someone was having a conversation on our message board, like, what does Jim Harbaugh's legacy look like? And I think it's still TBD, right? I mean, he finally had his crowning season, and then we were almost looking at him sneaking out the back door to go to Minnesota. So it's almost like year to year, we'll evaluate and see what this thing looks like. But I think for the most part, it's been good. A few great moments, a few amazing moments sprinkled in, but it's been good and stabilizing for the most part.
Fair enough. Anthony, if you don't mind, I have to head to break, so give me 2 minutes. I want to come back and continue the conversation about Jim Harbaugh, preview the game, of course, on Saturday, and I really want to get into this expansion of college football playoffs and what it means for a team like Michigan and really teams that maybe aren't Bama, Georgia at the elite level top, like Ohio State has been, like Clemson have been, how it benefits those teams. I do want to get to that and more in a bit, so stick around. Give me just 2 minutes. We'll be right back. But before we do, Jeff, our good friends over at the Sports Marketing Agency.
The Sports Marketing Agency helps spread awareness about mental health and substance abuse. Their new podcast, This is the F Word, helps spread awareness of fentanyl and other addictions and helps people realize that it's okay to not be okay. Go to thesportsma.com if you are struggling or know someone who is.
Hi, my diamonds. It's Crystal with an X. You want to get hot and perfect like me? Here's my super easy routine. Drink at least a gallon of water before you wake up. Attach a weight to everything in your house. Hello? Sell your car and just sprint everywhere. Scream when you exhale.
Don't follow Crystal with an X. Do your own thing at Planet Fitness with tons of equipment and free fitness training in our clean and spacious clubs. Join now for just $10 a month and cancel anytime.
Detroit's downtown summer playground is back. Open all summer long, the Monroe Street Midway. Enjoy roller skating, free Wi-Fi, food trucks, art installations, and so much more. Don't forget to take advantage of the basketball court, putt-putt, and, of course, family programming all summer long. All art installations are done by Detroit artists, and it's a fun, safe event from people 1 to 100. Go to deckedoutdetroit.com.
Fooling Warehouse in Hamtramck is the home of the original football bowling game. 2 to play for $12, unlimited open play, or they have the $120 lane reservation for up to 10 people. $2 mystery beer machine, full bar, and more. Check it out, foolingwarehouse.com. We're back here on the Morning Woodward Show. We're joined by Anthony Broome from thewolverine.com. And Anthony, I do want to ask you, before Adam gets into his questions, about something I read. And I read your article yesterday about Cornelius Johnson, which is a great read, by the way. You can check that out, thewolverine.com. But he spoke about what J.J. McCarthy brings to this offense. And I want to ask you, like, how hard does it make it for the offensive coordinator, Sharon Moore and Matt Weiss, not to just scheme up a bunch of shots downfield and stay consistent with what's been working for Michigan, especially leading up to the Ohio State game, which you may need to trade score for score with them?
Yeah, I think it's important to note about shots down the field that unless you are running the air raid or the run and shoot or something like that, that it's more of having the threat that you can do that and using it to open up everything else, as opposed to, oh, well, this is just going to be a team that chucks the ball down the field because they have a guy with special arm talent now. I think at their core, they want to stay balanced. I mean, they want to win and dominate up front in the line of scrimmage. And when you're able to do that, you can kind of just take what a defense gives you. So, when we spoke to Sharon Moore yesterday, someone asked him about the lack of deep shots in the opener and, what that meant for when, Cade McNamara's performance. And they just basically said, hey, they were playing their safeties deeper. They were playing their defensive backs deeper. So it opens up the underneath stuff, and that's where you attack there. And last week they had the advantage where they could win some more of their one-on-ones, at the line of scrimmage with their wide receivers and their skilled players. So I think this is still, they can do a lot of things well now. And that's the nice thing about having the talent at quarterback that they do, is that he's a factor in the QB run game. Obviously, when you look at like his touchdown pass to Ronnie Bell, where there's nothing special about that. It's just a quick little slant route that he fires in there right on the hash mark where it needs to be. So you can run a rhythm passing game where you're getting the ball out quick. You can take deep shots. You can run the football. So I think for Michigan, and this is kind of the balance that they've sought for several years now, is that I think they feel offensively that they can zig when a defense zags. And I think that's the most important. There might be games where J.J. McCarthy doesn't attempt to pass further than 10 yards down the field, and you are just worried about getting the ball to your playmakers in space. But I think more often than not, like we've talked about before on here, is just J.J. taking snaps back there opens up a variety of possibilities, because it might just freeze up a defense a little more. So, they can do it now. It obviously opens up a lot of different things that they might be able to do. Certainly, I think more things than the predecessor was capable of doing, assuming that JJ continues to take steps forward and bring that same snap-to-snap consistency.
Anthony, with the forward-thinking mindset that college football has had over the last probably 24 months, we've seen so much, not only NIL, not only now USC joining the Big Ten along with UCLA, Oklahoma, Texas to the SEC. We're seeing this expansion of college football. The money aspect, revenue is at an all-time high. And now we get to the expansion of the college football playoff. What does it do for a program now, like in Michigan? And what does it do for rivalries like the game at the end of the year, Michigan-Ohio State? Does it diminish the importance of games like this now that 12 teams get in, where there is a likelihood on the years where Ohio State and Michigan are very good, like they were last year and even this year, both know going into the game they're going to get in, outside of one team getting blown out completely. But even then, there's so many teams now that are going to be involved. Does this diminish the product, or are you with me where I just think more football is always great? I think it's better for these programs. I think it really balances where kids go now, because they don't have to go to a Bama or a Georgia just to show up on the national scene. So walk me through your mindset with this college football playoff expansion.
I think it's great. I mean, the fact that, people will argue, oh, well, you're still probably going to get down to the same Final Four anyways. You don't know that. I mean, there can always be an upset that happens, and more often than not, are the Bamas, Georgias, Ohio States going to make their run? Yeah, they probably will. But I'm with you, Adam. I mean, more football is more football, and I don't think, to me, like, has that taken any juice out of Georgia and Alabama playing for an SEC title than playing each other in the playoff? I don't think so. I mean, it's you all the time you see NFL playoff games that are maybe rematches of divisional matchups or games that were played earlier in the season. So I don't have an issue with that. I know the traditionalists do because that last weekend in November has to be, it means everything, and they could never move that game, and it has to be there, and it has to be for the Big Ten title on the line. No. I think more football is great. I think that, like I said, a school like Michigan has a ton to gain from the playoff expanding because more often than not, they'll finish somewhere in that 10 to 12 range on even if they go 10-2 in a season. So, I mean, I'm here for it, and I love the idea of playing some of these games on campus sites. Alabama, hey, come up and play a game in Columbus or Ann Arbor. Or Ohio State doesn't want to play their playoff games at home. They want to go be in a dome somewhere, which makes sense because they threw a hissy fit over a quarter inch of snow on the field in Ann Arbor last year. But yeah, I'm totally here for all of it. I mean, I think 12 is. I think in my brain, I think 16 would be great, but 12 is good. People will say it takes away from the regular season. Yeah, I guess. Yeah, because I guess 10-2 gets you in now, but it's
But
also. I've also never liked the college football. If you lose one game, all of a sudden, your season is somewhat over in the national picture. So depending on who it is to. So I'm here for it. I think that more football is great, and more football is always welcome. And I'd rather watch Michigan go play a playoff game at Oregon or something than watch the Red Box Bowl with 4,000 people in the stands.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I mean, look at the names you would get into a 12-team format right now. You'd get Georgia, Bama, Ohio State, Michigan, Clemson, Oklahoma, USC. Already 7 huge national programs. You want to see some programs that maybe don't get all the shine. You get Oklahoma State, you get a Kentucky and Arkansas, you get Michigan State, and I can't believe BYU is number 12 in the country right now, but BYU is there. I mean, it really opens up the possibility for teams that are not a Georgia, not a Bama, not a Clemson, not a USC now with Lincoln Riley there. It really opens up recruiting. So that's going to go to my next question, which is, my God, the transfer portal, I think, is one of the greatest things that we have ever seen implemented into college football. The fact that I get in a single offseason Jordan Addison, Caleb Williams, to transfer to USC, where they don't have to sit, they just play right away, along with Lincoln Riley. I mean, we are spoiled in today's game. I think it's phenomenal. I think it's done wonders. Hell, Michigan has an offensive lineman who's a transfer, who's playing at an elite level right now.
Well, of course you like the transfer portal. You're a Michigan State fan now. I mean, that's a big
Tell him,
deal.
Anthony.
I like
rated
it in
PFF
that,
defensive player according excuse you. Just so you know.
I do like the transfer portal. I don't like that there are certain aspects where, like a guy like Jordan Addison, they tampered the crap out of that guy to get him out of Pitt. And those are private things that happen between players and boosters. But I'm not crazy about the idea of just turning it to total chaos and complete college football free agency. But a guy like Jacoby Windman, right? He came from UNLV. Yeah. That's a good story. You move up a level. Olu Oluwatimi was a Virginia guy. Like these guys that move up kind of a rung on the ladder in terms of programs you play for and things like that. I think that's pretty good. It's good for the sport that it was always stupid to me that a guy would have to sit out a whole. Like I know what the rules were, but when a guy sits out a whole year and you don't play football for a whole year, I don't know that a ton of guys come back the same from that. I think the transfer portal at large is a pretty good development. I think the NIL is a phenomenal development. I think the bubble will burst on sort of the pay for play stuff because you're already seeing what will happen at a school like Texas A&M. These schools that are just kind of firing the money cannon with no regard for team culture, for just money burning hole in the pockets of these oil tycoons. But yeah, I think that the steps forward are at some point, and this would be my message to the traditionalists, the people who just want college football to be the way it was, where transfers had to sit out a year and you determined who was a national champion on paper. At some point, you have to take the sport and where we're at for what it is and not where you'd like it to be. This is where we're moving. I think that eventually I really do think we're going to get these schools, kind of the Power Five, sort of breaking away and doing their own thing from a football perspective. And it should be that way. I mean, the money that they are making hand over fist right now is absurd. So I'm for player empowerment in the NBA when it's been going on. I'm for it in the NFL, and I'm definitely for it in college football, where guys, as of 18 months ago, could get kicked off the team for a booster just giving them a bagel without cream cheese on it. So, yeah, I'm all for it.
That's insane. Look, one thing you brought up that I completely wholeheartedly agree with is the idea that, and this is just my theory that I think would be perfect, is the College Football Playoff Committee turns into what the NCAA is currently in collegiate sports. I think they have to branch off. I don't think they should be associated. This is more and more becoming, I don't want to say, actually, you know what? It is a major, quote, major league of its own. This is really groundbreaking stuff in college football. I'm all for it. I agree with you. It should not be a frenzy in terms of transfer portal placement. I think there should be, better rules in place, especially even with NIL. I think we're all still trying to understand how do you regulate it. It's not regulated all the same around different states. So some states it's lenient, some states it's not. It's very strict. So you're really working with a lot of moving parts right now that they're going to have to figure out over the next few years. But Anthony, you look at Texas A&M, for example, the ungodly amount of money they've spent, the talent they've brought in. For the traditionalists who don't like NIL and what it does for the players, at the end of the day, you need an athletic director that knows what he's doing. You need a program that is all bought in at the top level. And you need a coach that can not only coach, but inspire, can recruit, and do all these things. It's not just, we're going to pay for the best players, and it's all going to work. And Texas A&M is finding that out the hard way, no?
Yeah, like I said, you can't just fire the money cannon. And I don't there are, a school like Michigan, they have definitely been slow adopting this. And I can't sit here and say I know what the future looks like for them, but I do think the slow burn approach to it and making sure you have it right, and making sure that guys are taken care of when they get on campus. That's the biggest thing. Michigan's kind of been dragged through the mud for its NIL stuff on the recruiting trail, and rightfully so. I think they botched their messaging early on, especially the transformational, not transactional stuff. We're not going to pay guys to play. That's probably, the funny thing about that is Nick Saban has been saying the exact same stuff. Notre Dame, which is not going well there right now, but Notre Dame hasn't been doing the pay-for-play thing on the recruiting trail. But it's important to make sure that you have the data points to get your guys what they need once they're on campus. I mean, when you're just doing the cheating wide open, which is essentially what a Texas A&M is doing, and there are some other schools down south that are kind of adopting that way, and they always have. It's just out in the open now. That's where I do there are concerns about, there are whispers that this guy got this and this guy received a McDonald's bag of this, and you can't just do pay for play. Pay for play is not legal. But when you have guys that are signing autographs or promoting a brand on social media, that's good. Like I said, the fact that a guy that as of 18 months ago or whatever it was, a little less than that, 14 months ago probably, that you couldn't even go to a dealership and sign an autograph for someone, I think is just so absurd. Your autograph is you. That's your likeness, right? And if someone wants to pay you to do it, I'm a firm believer in you are whatever someone says you're worth. So it is one of those things where I'm all for taking the slow burn approach from a school like Michigan's perspective. I mean, they have the Ross School of Business attached to it. That's a resource for them. They've got boosters with deep pockets. I mean, Stephen Ross can't be around the NFL right now. That's a dude you would think would step up for them. So, just overall, I've never been a fan of pay for play. I don't think it does anything but create, because what happens, my biggest concern with that is what happens when there's not that return on an investment. Well, then you're probably winding up in court, and that doesn't need to happen. So, yeah, it's great. I know there's still steps forward for everyone to take. I don't think there's they need some national legislation on that, but not getting political. We know how efficient that Congress typically is in terms of, what's on the docket and things like that. But right now, everyone's just doing the best they can and trying to figure it out. And the NCAA is still kind of scrambling and losing their minds over it. But here we are.
Anthony, what are some things that, I get it's UConn, you're facing the Huskies this week, and they made the list of one of the worst college football teams in college football. But I want to ask you, what are some things you're looking for against UConn, or maybe some players you're keyed in on this week?
I think for me, it's, Michigan for the most part has sort of pulled their starters at halftime in both of these first two games, and rightfully so. They've been blowouts. But now that you have a starting quarterback, now that, this is your last shot before – all the games matter, but they really truly start to matter next week when Maryland comes to town. Saturday needs to be like the dress rehearsal, and that's where you probably need to see guys play almost 3 quarters. Obviously, if they're up 70-0 in the third quarter, guys aren't going to play through that entire 15 minutes of play. But I just want it to be as complete as it's looked on both sides of the ball. I thought offensively, they sort of sleptwalked to 44 points in week 1. Last week, I thought called off the dogs at half. I'm not a fan of that, but Hawaii was just so bad. That is the worst team in the FBS. And so it didn't stay sharp, and they did kind of lose some steam in the second half. But I'd like to see a sharp, 3-quarter performance. I don't expect, Jim Harbaugh has been kind of hard up to get 100 guys in games. I think he got 94 in last week. He had 86 or something in week 1. I don't know that you'll see that much rotating this week. I think there is a knowledge that, okay, we've been fortunate to have the non-conference we've had. It's essentially been an NFL preseason schedule for us. This needs to be the dress rehearsal. So that's specifically what I'm looking for. UConn will provide more resistance than Hawaii did. Probably not as much as Colorado State did, but I want to see J.J. McCarthy look sharp again. Would love to see the ball not touch the ground for a third week in a row. Would love to see the offensive line, that shuffling sort of stabilize, and those guys get back to their form from last year. And defensively, just continue to find ways to get to the quarterback, continue to rack up pressures, continue to be disruptive, which was a big question mark for them, but they've done a pretty good job of that for the first 2 games, again, with the asterisk of what the opponent is. But, when people say, it's just Colorado State, it's just Hawaii, it's just UConn, it has to look dominant, because if it doesn't look dominant, we're having other conversations about what the concerns with the team are. So as long as it's thorough, as long as it's impressive, that's the box you check for the week and you move on to the next one. So that's what I'll be looking for.
Awesome. Well, Anthony, I can't thank you enough. Thank you so much. That was awesome, man. Always a pleasure talking to you. Make sure you guys go check out Anthony at thewolverine.com. Follow all of his articles that he's writing. Follow everything he's posting on his Twitter as well. Follow him at Anthony Broome. Anthony, thanks so much, bud. Enjoy your weekend.
You're the best, Anthony.
Go Blue.
Thank you, guys. Thank you. Talk to you guys soon.
All right. Let me tell you guys about Lady Jane's Haircuts for Men. Open 10 to 8, 7 days a week. Walk in anytime. Their awesome stylists will take care of you like they take care of me. Now, look, I know some of you rave about my hair. Well, this is not God-given. This is Lady Jane's made. All right? The girls there take care of me. The haircuts, the reinvigorating shampoos they use, they really know how to take care of your hair. I trust nobody other than the girls at Lady Jane's to take care of my hair. So walk in anytime, no appointment necessary, 7 days a week, 10 to 8, Lady Jane's. It's wicked awesome.
The sports marketing agency would not be who we are without great community partners like Higuera Health and Carol Zaniga.
It's an awesome opportunity to partner with your organization. Higuera Health is a comprehensive behavioral health organization. We serve children through older adults with mental health, substance use, and developmental disabilities across Western Wayne counties, and really excited to now be in downriver communities as well. Give us a call at 734-458-4601.
You don't have to go to the beach, man. You don't have to get your butt crack full of sand. You just need a little chili peppers, man, to get that glowing beach chili peppers tan. Woo!
With 26 locations in the Metro Detroit area and more coming, Chili Peppers Tanning is where you'll find the cleanest salons in the D. Join the Pepper Club for the best deals on unlimited tanning. Head to chilipepperstanning.com.
You just need a little chili peppers, man.
Let me tell you about our friends at Odds Trader, because, guys, oddstrader.com is the #1 site for your game day bets. They have the play-by-play updates, live scores, and the best price on every game for multiple sports books. Go to oddstrader.com right now for your best bet.
All right, we're back here on the Morning Woodward Show, 9:20 a.m. Just in a few minutes, 9 minutes, we'll have Owen joining us to preview the Michigan State-Washington game. I'm definitely excited for that. I mean, he hit the nail on the head week 1 before the Western game about Jacoby Windman.
Yeah.
He nailed it with Burger week 2. I'm loving the work Owen's putting. Big fan of his work right now.
He's doing great things.
But we got 8 minutes.
We do.
Talk to me about this list. Explain to me what I'm missing.
So, and for context for people, betonline.ag came out with their odds for which coach will be fired first. Obviously, first on that list at plus 350 is Mike McCarthy, which is no surprise. Second, Matt Rule at plus 375. Third is Cliff Kingsbury at plus 500. Then you have Frank Reich at plus 900. Mike Vrabel is on this list, which I was actually kind of surprised about, to be honest with you. He's plus 900. But coming in behind Robert Saleh and Arthur Smith, Dan Campbell is on this list, 14-1 odds to get fired as the first coach to be fired. And then behind him, you had Rod Rivera, Pete Carroll, Kevin Stefanski, which Kevin Stefanski's on this list.
What's the site again?
Betonline.ag. And I do want to say right now, do I agree with Dan being on this list? No, because the reality is he got a 6-year deal. 6-year contract, and you're not going to fire him in a second year. Sheila Ford Hamp knew exactly what she was signing up for. This isn't a 2-year turnaround. Like, to have expectations, that's why I always get frustrated when Lions fans bring up the fact that this is a must-win, because you want to make the playoffs. Teams that were 0-2, no team made the playoffs last year. It has nothing to do with the playoffs. This season is determined by player progression and context of a lot of these games. It's depending on how you lose. If Dan's the reason,
where is he?
He would be 1, 2, 3. He is the 8th or 9th coach.
The 9th most likely coach to be fired this year.
Right in front of Ron Rivera, right behind Arthur Smith.
Behind Arthur Smith?
Which Arthur Smith, why would he be fired this year?
I think him and Arthur Smith are in the same boat.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have Dan Campbell that high. 4 weeks, 5 weeks from now, if they haven't won a game or they're only one game, they're 1-5, 1-6. Now we're having that conversation.
Do you agree with him being in front of Pete Carroll by 2 coaches? He has slightly better odds than Pete Carroll.
Yeah. Yeah, I do agree with that, because Pete Carroll, for all I don't like about him, you saw what happened Monday night. And that's the updated odds as of Monday too.
Right. So they're 1-0. Yeah.
So they're 1-0. Not only that, for the Seattle Seahawks to choose, given their ownership issues right now, Pete Carroll over Russell Wilson, I think, says everything about the situation. So, no, I'm not mad about it. I told you before the season, 3 coaches had my eye focused, dialed in, hell, even more, but we'll just go with these 3. Matt Rule, my eyes are on him. He's going to get fired if he doesn't get his shit together.
Mm-hmm.
Mike McCarthy, even before the Dak Prescott, we talked about this going into the year, I think he was going to get fired 100%. They'll probably go after Sean Payton.
Right.
At the end of the year. And the third coach I told you would be a surprise would be Bill Belichick, because I do think they're probably a 5-12 team this year, 6-11 at best. That's what I think of New England, and it could be worse if the offense stays like that the rest of the year.
But what is the difference between those teams and the Lions with Dan Campbell?
Dan Campbell has a 6-year contract and is in his 2nd year.
And those teams are, besides the Patriots,
and the Lions are in a clear rebuild.
There you go.
Patriots are coming off a playoff season. Mike Vrabel's on there because they lost their first game of the year, obviously. They lost to the Giants, not ideal.
Right.
And if he starts the year 2-6, 2-7, 2-8, I think the Titans should show complete patience. I would never fire Mike Vrabel just for one bad season.
Especially last year.
The highest seeded team in the AFC.
With
best
those
record in the
injuries.
AFC with no Derrick Henry for most of the season. So,
yeah.
Look, if Campbell's on the list, it is what it is. I think he's untouchable right now.
Do you think it's about the franchise more so than Dan? Like the Lions,
It's both.
whoever's the head coach of the Lions in your
No, I don't think it's that. I think they have their plan in place. It is Dan Campbell. There is no way Dan Campbell does not see the field next year.
Right.
Unless he goes 3-14 this year. If he goes 3-14 this season, wow. And even then, I would still put the odds on him being the coach next year, because I don't think they fire him.
No.
But I would be calling for his head if they were a 3-win team again this year.
Right. Context. We always talk about that.
But kind of where I'm getting at is I don't think he should be on the list, but he's going to be there for betting purposes. But guys in the 2nd year of a 6-year contract, I don't see them even considering firing him, let alone this early in the season. It's not going to happen. I'm not on board with it. Who's the most favorite coach to get fired?
Oh, your favorite, Mike McCarthy.
And who's number 2?
Deservedly so. Matt Rule.
I'm nailing these.
Cliff
Before
Kingsbury.
the season started, I told you
Cliff
this too.
Kingsbury.
Cliff Kingsbury, that was another one I told you.
And then Frank Reich is actually 4th.
I think he should be there.
Yeah,
and
4th.
I told you that the Jags would win the division. Colts tied the first game of the year. I'm feeling good about the Jags. I know they lost to Washington. Their defense, bad penalties. They blew it late. I'm loving what I saw out of Trevor Lawrence. I like James Robinson, Travis Etienne. I think that'll be a good combination. I'm still very high on the Jags winning that division. And I think 10 wins at most wins you that division this year.
I agree with
I think you're going to see a significant drop-off from Tennessee and from Indianapolis. Frank Reich, also a coach that'll get fired this year.
And then after that following, this is the kind of issue I had too, is Mike Vrabel's higher than Robert Saleh. In terms of first to get fired, but they're both 0-1.
Yeah, but Robert Saleh had a bad year. Again, he's a second-year coach.
And I don't think Robert would get fired. Similar to what I think about Dan Campbell. I think that's still a rebuild.
Coaching in New York, he should be higher on the odds. There's so much pressure there. There's no Zach Wilson right now. They got Joe Flacco at starting quarterback. That's not ideal. So they have a quarterback problem in New York. And if Zach Wilson can't get healthy, Robert Saleh and the New York Jets need to make a decision, because he can't go out and win 2-3 games again.
No.
Because he's going to get fired. Welcome to the NFL, man. I don't care what obstacles you face. It doesn't matter at the end of the day. People want to win. Owners want to win. GMs want to win. Teams want to win. Coaches want to win.
And I think the difference, too, is we look at all these coaches on this list. Dan Campbell, wherever he is, 9th or 10th best odds. If the Lions win 6 games, he's not getting fired. It's just not happening. And if Matt Rule or Cliff Kingsbury, Frank Reich, Mike Vrabel, I don't think Mike Vrabel would get fired, but if these guys win 6 games, there's a problem. That's the difference. The Lions they don't have these expectations yet, so why is Dan on this list? I have no idea, but we're going to need more of a sample size than just the first game of the season to put him on this list. That's how I feel about it.
All right, let's take a quick break. When we get back, Owen Oszust joins us, the Michigan State beat reporter for the Woodward Sports Network. We'll preview quickly Michigan State and Washington and what to expect over the weekend. And then 9:41, Thursday Night Football. Fantasy football stardom situms going into the weekend. I can't wait for it. All that and much more in just a sec. But before we do, Jeff, our good friends over at Cintron.
Well, guys, you know what time it is. I'm drinking the Cintron. It is what gets me through the morning. And not only that, it's what gets people going at Little Caesars Arena, because they're the official energy drink of the Red Wings. They've combined all 3 of their delicious flavors into their 6-pack sampler box, which you could see if you're watching on YouTube. They have the original, they have the sugar-free, and they have the cranberry. Pre-order your Cintron 6-pack sampler box today at cintronworld.com/Red Wings. Get energized with Cintron.
New to the game or a season better? OddsTrader.com has everything you need to make the right bet ahead of kickoff. Begin your handicapping journey with OddsTrader. Improve your edge by finding the best price on every game from sportsbooks in your backyard. Take advantage of the numerous sign-up bonus offers to pad your bankroll. Dive into key game statistics, player performance, and even account for the projected game day weather. Best of all, you can use the OddsTrader bet tracker to keep a log of your action. Welcome to OddsTrader, and best of luck.
Hi, I'm John from Better Rate Mortgage, and to me, family is more than blood. That's why I have the biggest family in Metro Detroit. If you're looking to buy a house or refinance and need a loan, come get treated better than family by me and our entire team here at Better Rate Mortgage. We pride ourselves on giving you better advice, better service, and a better loan experience. That's why we are Better Rate. If you're looking for a new mortgage, come get treated like family. Actually, better with Better Rate Mortgage. Visit us at mybetterrate.com or call at 248-480-4467 today.
Monroe Street Midway is open until September 25th, so you still have time to get down there and experience Detroit with roller skating, mini golf, art installations, live music, food trucks, and much, much more. It's a fun, safe event for everybody. Take your kids, take your friends, take your girlfriend, take your buddies, whoever it may be. Head down to the Monroe Street Midway. The summer is better at the Monroe Street Midway. Brought to you by our good friends over at Bedrock Detroit. Jeff, Iafrate, and myself this morning, joined by Owen, the Michigan State beat reporter for the Woodward Sports Network. Owen, good morning. How are you?
Look at that. Look at that, man. Muted his mic.
All right, Owen, I can't hear you, buddy. Talk. Yeah, get your shit together. God damn it. I think it's a setting. You have to take them off your AirPods so you can talk.
Well, he's got to unmute his mic
Well,
first.
just
That would
come back
help.
to me, and when you're getting levels on his end, let me know. So Michigan State plays Washington this week, and today is just a bad day for the video calls, man. Jesus Christ.
You know what the people are talking about, though? That outfit. Look at Anthony brought up. You look like Nick Jonas a little bit.
Yeah,
Nick
what
Jonas?
is
You're
that?
styling today, man.
I was wondering what that outfit was.
It's the don't bring your girl around Adham outfit. That's what it is.
I like it.
God damn you guys.
I can't wait till we get Owen on, man. He's been doing a great job. He really has.
God.
And I got a lot of questions for him.
All right, I think he might be good now. We'll
All
try
right,
him again.
Owen, let's give it a shot. And
There we
there you go. Yeah. All right, chill out. Bring the camera back. I don't want to be
A little
that
too
close to your face, all right?
I switched to the phone because the laptop wasn't working for some
It's
reason.
okay. It's okay. You're good. You're good. Look, I got to ask you, Owen. Let's start with Jacoby Windman. You talked to me before the season about him. You're pretty dead on the money on him. So far, the highest-rated defensive player, according to PFF, in college football. Walk me through Jacoby Windman, his transfer, what he means for this team, and Mel Tucker's continued success in the transfer portal.
Oh, he's massive. Two-time, back-to-back weeks for Big Ten Defensive Player of the Week. He's going to be the one to put pressure on Michael Penix Jr. this weekend. That's how big he is. Michael Penix has not been sacked yet this year. I mean, Jacoby Windman has 4 sacks already in a game. That's going to be something to watch out for. How that pass rush of BT Jordan and Mel Tucker is, that's going to be led by Jacoby Windman. So he's going to have at least 1 to 2 sacks and constant pressure on Michael Penix Jr. because you don't want him to feel comfortable in that pocket.
Owen, thank you for joining us, by the way. You've been doing a good job. I want to say that. And number 2, I want to ask you, Michigan State 2-0 this season to start, crushing Akron last week in spite of Peyton Thorne turning the ball over a little bit. What's been the communication between Mel Tucker and Peyton Thorne during this time, and how important is it for him to bounce back against a 2-0 Huskies team?
Well, I think the run game is the biggest part. But, yeah, you can get away with Peyton Thorne being okay, and from then on, you just have to rely on the run. But it's going to be a problem. Peyton Thorne is not clicking in all cylinders. He knows it. He's just throwing on his back foot. He's not good with his timing. His accuracy's off, but his wide receivers are open. He's missed Keon Coleman a few times against Akron, Trey Mosley, Jaden Reed a couple of times. He's just got to be better. Like, it's plain and simple. I think they could get away with a mediocre Peyton Thorne because of how good Jalen Berger and Jarek Broussard have been. I talked to him last night. The Killer Bees, that's their nickname that they're going with, so they're going to start marketing that kind of thing. And the Killer Bees have been fantastic. I mean, we talked about replacing Kenneth Walker and all that stuff like that. The Killer Bees are what is, I guess, their replacement by committee. I've been saying it. Some people didn't listen, but those 2 guys are the reason why this offense is going to be good against Washington, because you need to establish that run early, and then you can have those throws where Peyton Thorne gets more comfortable. That's what you got to do to set up. You got to have the run set up the pass offense.
And you mentioned the receiving core, and obviously Jaden Reed returning, big expectations for him this year. But another guy that's kind of came out of nowhere, I don't want to say out of nowhere, but been surprising to me is Keon Coleman. You brought him up, leading the Spartans in receiving yards this season, 2-sport athlete, also playing for Tom Izzo as well. What has been your evaluation of him this season, and what do you expect of him going forward and for the rest of the season?
Well, I'm surprised you're surprised, because on your Jeff and Gentry show, I said Keon Coleman was the
get out of here.
X-Man Player of the Year.
You did.
Yeah,
you did.
But he's dude. He can go up and get the ball. He's just long. He's lengthy. He's strong. He's confident out there. He's on the sideline. He is like, the way to describe him would be he's having fun, and that's dangerous, because especially with Jaden Reed drawing off the safety and everything, when he's out there and healthy, Keon Coleman is the other guy Peyton Thorne's going to throw to, because he can go up. Keon Coleman, he said, those 50-50 balls, they're 90-10 to him. So that's how good he is. I've been calling it for a long time as well. He's going to have a breakout year, and especially with Jaden Reed dealing with all these sorts of injuries, I'm not 100% sure how good he'll be, like, health-wise going into Washington, but you also have guys like freshman Jeremy Bernard. He's the guy that committed to Washington, and then Washington didn't really want him anymore, so they cut him loose with that, and now he's with Michigan State, already has a touchdown. He's been fantastic. with his limited playing time. He could be a factor to watch for, and then Trey Mosley as well. The wide receiver core is something I'm not even close to worried about, but I am worried about Peyton Thorne and finding that rhythm. Once he does, this team is a lot better, I feel like, than last year because that defense is so good defensively up front, and then wide receiver wise it's better as well. And running backs, they're close to Kenneth, but they're not, Kenneth Walker. It's hard to replace him.
All right, well, look, Owen, Kenneth Walker last year, phenomenal. We all know. I think they've done a hell of a job so far to start the year replacing his output. It's been really good to see, especially with Berger really taking charge so far. 227 yards through 2 games, 4 touchdowns. Like you said, Peyton Thorne has been struggling. But we have not seen the best version of this Michigan State offense. And this is a guy who last year had a lot of really good moments. I liked him at times more than Cade McNamara for a majority of the year. And I thought he really won them that game with that 4th down throw to, I believe it was to Reed near the pylon against Michigan last year. He had a lot of good moments. I'm not too worried about his struggles, but what I do have to ask you is Michigan State is 3.5-point favorites, or excuse me, underdogs. 3.5-point underdogs this weekend. On the road, on the West Coast in Washington. Should Michigan State fans be concerned? And this is not the Washington from last season that was a bad team when Michigan played them on early. This is a 2-0 Washington team.
Michael
They're pretty
Penix?
solid. They're pretty solid. They have a damn good quarterback, mobile, 6 touchdowns so far, 1 interception, throwing over 330, 340 yards a game. Michigan State's defense is going to get an absolute test against Washington. Yes or no, Owen? We're going to learn a lot about this Michigan State football team on Saturday.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I'm not even concerned that we're not going to find out much about them. I am concerned with the purple out, the atmosphere, how Michigan State's going to handle that. I mean, these guys have been on the road, so they've been in the shoe. A lot of these guys, Cal Halliday, Peyton Thorne, they know what that big-time atmosphere is like because that's what this Washington, this game is going to be. I think it's going to be hard-nosed football right up the middle, and Michael Penix Jr., if he starts clicking, it might be over. You got to be able to keep up with them and put pressure on Penix. The atmosphere, I can't wait to go there. I'm going to fly out Friday, but either way, it's going to be something that will start to define your season because it doesn't get any easier from here. You got Minnesota next week, then you go to College Park. That's not easy. And then, of course, the big 3-game stretch of Ohio State, Wisconsin, and Michigan. So this game right here, this weekend, starts to define your season because you need a win on the road. It's your 3rd hardest road game of the season. I would say Michigan and Penn State are both harder, but things get real quick, real fast. You got to be able to step up to the test, and I think that they are ready. I think Michigan State will win this one. I still it's not a great feeling going over there and playing against these guys, but I think Michigan State is ready. And Mel Tucker had talked about their sleep schedule. They've been going to bed an hour early and everything. They've been constantly preparing for this time zone change, and I think we're going to see a big flea flicker to either start or at some point because we haven't seen one yet this year, and that was kind of that recipe throughout the offense last year. And then Daniel Barker, expect him to get some trick plays. We saw him run the ball a couple of times. I expect him to do that once again because Jay Johnson loves to get creative, and I think he's a great offensive coordinator.
All right, well, Owen, I can't thank you enough for joining us this morning. Appreciate it, guys. Make sure you check out Owen's work on the Woodward Sports Network. Make sure you follow him. But, ladies and gentlemen, we got to take a quick break. When we get back, fantasy football stardom sit-ems, and, of course, a Thursday night football preview, all that and more. But, Jeff, the best defense on and off the field first.
Let me tell you about it. Summertime is over, and that means you're still spending a little bit more time outside before the snow gets here. So, guys, let Guardian Alarm give you peace of mind while you're out enjoying the sunshine while it lasts. Call 1-800-STAY-OUT today, and you can rest easy knowing you have 24/7 protection. That's 1-800-STAY-OUT. Let them know your friends at Woodward Sports sent you.
Hi, my diamonds. It's Crystal with an X. You want to get hot and perfect like me? Here's my super easy routine. Drink at least a gallon of water before you wake up. Attach a weight to everything in your house. Sell your car and just sprint everywhere. Scream when you exhale.
Don't follow Crystal with an X. Do your own thing at Planet Fitness with tons of equipment and free fitness training in our clean and spacious clubs. Join now for just $10 a month and cancel anytime.
It's a great day to get some Centron in your life. Okay. There it is. Centron, here we go. Gotta grab the cranberry. Oh wait, it's 2 for $4. Gotta double up with the classic as well. Centron World, baby. Centron, available at select Krogers, and if you want to know how, go to @CentronWorld.com. You get dope like me. You know what? Why wait? Great taste, guaranteed.
Let me tell you about our friends at Big Frog. Because, guys, you can get a free Woodward Sports t-shirt. That's right, a free Woodward Sports t-shirt all month long at Big Frog in Novi. Just stop in, tell them we sent you, and they will print one out for you on the spot. So go to Big Frog in Novi, get your free t-shirt, or visit them online at bigfrog.com/Novi.
All right, we're back here on the Morning Woodward Show, 9:41. Jeff, fantasy football stardom, sit-ems. I'm going to start with my first stardom, an absolute must-start. This will be a little shocking for you, but I think weather-dependent. I'm loving Darnell Mooney's matchup this week against the Green Bay secondary.
It's a good one.
You saw what Justin Jefferson did. You even saw what Adam Thielen did in limited action. They really had their way with the Packers secondary. Jair Alexander clearly doesn't go in shadow a team's #1 wide receiver like we saw in Week 1. So if that's the case, I'm loving a matchup for Darnell Mooney. Give me a stardom. A quiet stardom would be Darnell Mooney if you have him. I would take him if he's your third option on a fantasy team.
Mine, you're going to have to consider, is Josh Palmer. Especially with Keenan Allen with his hamstring injury. Palmer live up to the preseason. He had a good preseason as well. And you have Justin Herbert. Who doesn't like Justin Herbert? I think Josh Palmer is going to get more involved this week, today against Kansas City. So look for Josh Palmer today. And especially if you have a good other option, I like Josh Palmer in there.
Nice.
I think
Chargers wide receiver, right?
Yep, Chargers wide receiver. I think he's projected around 12 points.
Yep.
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken. Mike, am I crazy? Josh Palmer from the Chargers?
No, I like that pick too. Keenan Allen going down, and you've seen Mike Williams really didn't get the ball that much. They were spreading the ball everywhere, so I like that pick.
Got to go with it. Now, do you have another stardom?
I do have a stardom.
Okay, because I got one more.
Injury dependent, and this will fall along the Palmer situation. For any reason T. Higgins is not available to go, I think Boyd is a must-start.
That was it? Yeah, that was
Boyd
mine.
is a must-start if Higgins doesn't go. But that, again, injury dependent. So I'll give you guys something a little different. For a starter, we'll go to running back. We're going to start Dameon Pierce this week. Do not sit him. I know he had a disappointing Week 1. Coaching staff came out, Lovie Smith, saying, hey, we need to give this guy more work. We understand that was not how the game plan was meant to play out. I expect Houston to give him more carries, more pass touches, like you saw Rex Burkhead get over the weekend. I would start Dameon Pierce. I wouldn't be shy of starting him, especially if you need him. For any reason, he's your third best running back. You can make that decision at the flex. But if you need a running back, it's a non-negotiable to start Dameon Pierce.
I think another one, and it was mentioned in the chat, and I'm glad it was, Michael Carter. A guy that even last week I was hesitant on starting. You didn't know how Breece Hall would look. Now you know. Michael Carter is going to be utilized a lot more. And I know Abe in the chat, Jets fan, I know he agrees with me there. I like Michael Carter this week. I know they're facing Cleveland. It's a good defense, but he's going to get his touches. So I'm going to go with Michael Carter for my last stardom. But Tyler Boyd's a good one. I like Tyler Boyd as well. All
right, fair enough. Let's do sit-ems. Players that you must sit to avoid. I'm going to start with my own player, who I am struggling with currently, Jalen Waddle. I think we're going to sit him this week against Baltimore. On the road at Baltimore. That defense was stifling against the Jets. He's going to have Marcus Peters on him at times. This is a tough matchup, I think, for any wide receiver outside of Tyreek Hill. I'm going to be avoiding Jalen Waddle this weekend.
Another one I would avoid, and I made this mistake, it's Amari Cooper. Don't start him this week. This is kind of a wait-and-see approach for me as well with Amari. I don't think that Jacoby Brissett and Amari Cooper connection's there yet, and you got to be patient with this one. I got Amari sitting on my bench this week, especially against, actually a really well-coached Robert Saleh defense. I get they face the Ravens, but I think against the Browns, I wouldn't trust Amari Cooper just yet. So he's my first sit-em. My other one, and I just want to get this out of the way, would be Ezekiel Elliott against Cincinnati. For a lot of reasons. I mean, number one, you have Cooper Rush starting at quarterback. So, honestly, their defense, Cincinnati is going to be keying in on Ezekiel and Tony Pollard. Maybe Tony Pollard is not a bad option, what he can do in the passing game. But for me, Ezekiel Elliott, Cincinnati has one game plan going into Dallas, and that's stop the run, make Cooper Kupp kill you, and he ain't gonna. So, give me Ezekiel Elliott. I wouldn't trust him this week. I would avoid him.
All right, fair enough. Well, let's get to Thursday Night Football. We'll answer more stardom sit-ems in Mailbag, so give us just a few minutes. But Chargers-Chiefs, divisional matchup tonight. Thursday Night Football. Jeff, who do you got?
This is a tough one for me. I want to go with the Chargers, but I think Keenan Allen, the loss of Keenan Allen is going to hurt a little bit. I think defensively, the Chargers are a much more complete team. But seeing how Kansas City looked, and you could say what you want about Juju Smith-Schuster. I mean, he had a good game last game. I think he'll have another good game this week. So I think my heart's telling me Kansas City, but my gut's telling me the Chargers. So I'm going to go with the Chargers this week. I think they'll beat the Kansas City Chiefs. I know Patrick Mahomes is dealing with a lingering wrist injury. I think he's healthy enough to play, obviously, but I just think the Chargers, even without Keenan Allen, I just think defensively they have a lot more talent, but we'll see. I mean, Arizona got obliterated, but it is Arizona. But I'm going to stick with my gut. I'm going to go with the Chargers. I'm high on the Chargers. I've been since the start of the season, and I'm going to stay consistent. So I got the Chargers winning this one. I think it'll be close. I'll say a field goal.
You ready for this one?
Mm-hmm.
23-20, Chargers pull it off.
Oh, field goal. Yeah, I think it'll be close.
23-20, Chargers pull it off. Their defense, Khalil Mack, 3 sacks in the opener. Joey Bosa, 1 sack in the opener. It's going to continue tonight. The one thing Patrick Mahomes did not have to face against Arizona, a pass rush. It's nice throwing a CEH. It's nice throwing all these guys now. Travis Kelce. Derwin James is going to be on Travis Kelce.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to have 2 pass rushers you cannot double team at the same time. So you're going to have to pick your poison. And it's going to be one-on-one matchups for these edge rushers all night long. It's very reminiscent of how it looked with Von Miller, how it looked with Aaron Donald, how it looked with Leonard Floyd. That's what the Rams looked like last year. That's what the Chargers look like right now at the front 7 this year. I love it. Give me the Chargers on the road. Love this. Love this. Love this.
Mm-hmm. And I got a lot of confidence also. It's also the Chargers, and it's a big game for Brandon Staley as well. I mean, you have an opportunity to start 2-0, be the leader in your division, a very tough division. And we talked about where the Chiefs would rank up at the end of the year. I think they've been, even for the first game, I get it was the Cardinals, but you still dropped 40 on them. The offense looked good. Patrick Mahomes had 5 passing touchdowns. McCole Hardman, another guy that has been sneaky, had a touchdown last week. I think he'll have a better game this week. But like you said, I just think the Chargers are a much more complete team. I mean, even without Keenan Allen, I think it'll hurt them. But I think they'll find a way to win. I really do. Especially at Arrowhead Stadium, it's going to be tough. You're going to be on the road, and it's always tough to play at Arrowhead. But again, I'm with you, Adam. I think it'll be close, but ultimately it's going to come down to a Justin Herbert drive down the field to get a field goal to win the game. I think it'll be neck and neck, but I'm going with Justin Herbert, man. I really am. And we'll see. Maybe we revisit this tomorrow. We'll talk about it. But the Chargers, to me, man, I picked them to win the division, and this is a good start. Beat Kansas City, and it's a great start for you. You already beat Las Vegas. Start 2-0 against your divisional opponents. I'll go with the Chargers as well. I'm with you. I think it's smart. What about you, Mike?
I'm going to go with the Chiefs here. I think Mahomes is just in his bag this year, and he has something to prove. Everyone counting him out from Tyreek Hill. And he's like 5-2 all-time against the Chargers, so he pretty much has their number. And I just like the Chiefs in this one.
Hate you, Mike.
Damn you, Mike. No, I'm just kidding. And it's a tough one to call. It really is. I mean, Patrick Mahomes is that special. Even with the loss of Tyreek Hill coming out 5 touchdowns, I just think he's going to face a different team this week. You picked apart an Arizona Cardinals defense. Now it's different.
I agree, man. It's
different. You're playing the Chargers.
I do agree.
2 legitimate pass rushers and a good secondary.
We'll take a quick pause. Mailbag time. Get your fantasy questions, football questions, prediction, anything you want to talk about. Get your questions in the chat. We'll answer them in just a minute. But before we do, Jeff, our good friends over at Big Boy.
Let me tell you about our friends at Big Boy. Because, guys, for a limited time only, all new burgers and loaded fries. They have the Slim Jim. Jim, and it's not just the Big Jim, the chili cheese burger as well. The bacon blue. They also have the chili cheese fries, the baked potato fries, the nacho fries. You can get all these things. Visit it and satisfy those taste buds at Big Boy.
You're an ugly guy, and that's okay because you've outkicked your coverage with your significant other. Well, that's good news for you. Their hotness and your notness could get you front row tickets. The Woodward Sports Network is giving you a chance to sit front row for the Detroit versus Washington football game. That's right. We're looking for the ugliest guy and the hottest girl. So fellas, come on. If you know you've outkicked your coverage, here's your chance. Post a pic of you and your superior-looking partner on Twitter or Instagram with hashtag Woodward Front Row. Follow us and tag at Woodward Sports. Hurry, because we'll be selecting a winner September 16th. We can't wait to see you. Well, her. From the network that always outkicks the competition. Woodward Sports.
Life is full of hard choices. We're here to make one of life's biggest decisions as simple as possible. My name is Christina Gennari, and for over 20 years, I've helped hundreds of families buy and sell homes. We cover all of Metro Detroit and more, from large luxury homes to starter homes. We will work hard to make sure that you get the home of your dreams. So if you're in the market today or even thinking about buying or selling in the future, make the obvious choice. Christina Gennari, the obvious choice in real estate. Visit us at soldchristina.com today.
Fellas, let's be honest. We like things to be easy. We like simple stuff, like sports 7 days a week. We like things uncomplicated, like Lady Jane's Haircuts for Men. Open 10 to 8, 7 days a week. Walk in anytime. Sign in, sit down, watch your favorite team play, and before you know it, your hair will be game ready. Open 10 to 8, 7 days a week. Walk in anytime. Lady Jane's Haircuts for Men. It's wicked awesome.
All right, we're back. Mailbag time. Get your questions in the chat. We'll start with...
Let's start with Cryptic. He says, Jeff, do you think Daryl Henderson Jr. is a start this week?
No, he's not. Who asked that?
My guy, Cryptic Sparks.
He's your guy? So you got to watch what he says. I'm a Cam Akers owner. We don't accept any Daryl Henderson talk on this goddamn show.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you.
Fish, would you go on a date with Crystal with an X from the Planet Fitness commercial?
Hell no. She seems like a weirdo.
Seems like you're tight, Fish.
Steve-O says...
Hey, you know you're messed up when Fish calls you a weirdo.
No, yeah, you done messed up.
I wouldn't know what my type... I mean...
Would you smash, though?
Her?
Ooh.
Hell no. No. I wouldn't
Why?
even think... Have you seen her?
She's
You've
not
seen
your
her.
type?
Fish, she's crazy.
Is she your type? That's all I'm asking.
Honestly, I don't know. I mean...
What's your type? What would you smash? Hippo, median, skinny, big breast, small breast?
Definitely not a hippo.
I love Fish, man.
All right, let's see what other questions
And then we have Steve-O asked, Jeff, what does it mean if the Lions don't win this Sunday against the Commanders? Obviously, context matters.
Oh, boy.
But we'll tell you Monday.
You're
It's
in
hell.
We'll tell you guys Monday.
We'll see how it's
a must-win game.
Is the question.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's just say it's not going to be good going 0-2 and then going to Minnesota. I'll say that.
Start Allen Robinson. This is from Ryan Lentz. Question mark? I feel like Stafford's going to have to force him the ball after. Look, I'm not sure how I feel about Allen Robinson. He had a bum year last year.
Mm-hmm.
Not the best debut with the Rams, but it was against the Bills, so you got to take it with a little pinch of salt. The Bills are the best team in football. I wouldn't mind starting Allen Robinson if I have to.
I'm with you. I'm with Ryan. I think it'd be a good idea to start him just because of the reason he gave. I mean, Mike said this too before. Like, you're going to have to get Aaron Robinson the football. So I don't think that's a bad option. Coke asks, Jeff, could you ask Adam the tough question and put him on the spot about his chest hair bet?
Ooh.
Explain, because everyone keeps asking. Like, explain what happened. It's not like the
That
guy's
was stupid. I didn't even see it.
I don't want to show it.
Okay, but then what's the point of making a bet if you don't see it?
No, I am going to do it. I am going to do it.
Never.
The problem is, just shut the hell up for a second, Fish. The problem is, I totally botched the cut. I totally botched the letters.
You did it on purpose, didn't you?
No, I didn't. I really did my best to like make it look good. It was awful. So I'm waiting for the hair to recover a little bit, and then I'm gonna try to re-outline it. So I apologize. I really do. You guys know me. I shaved my whole goddamn beard last year. I'm a man of my word on my bet.
Yeah, you did that.
I really botched this one, and I'm not gonna do it. It looks awful. You can't even spell out BYU. I messed it up in the mirror looking at myself. It's a disaster. So we're gonna move on from
Why
that.
don't you just
I
show us
promise. I
the
promise
draft?
you'll see me with my shirt off. I promise.
Okay.
Don't worry. I'm a man of my word.
You don't do one of those mirror selfies that everyone loves?
No, I don't own one of those. Let's see.
You're not owning one of them. You take them.
Adam definitely bought that jacket from Express.
Hey,
I'm pretty sure my wife. Where'd she get this from?
That's a nice jacket.
They should got it from Zara in Chicago.
Yeah, that's not
when
a
we were
cheap
there.
jacket.
We got a question. Kitty asks: Is if
Go for it.
J.C. Jackson plays tonight, does that change your thoughts on tonight's game?
No. I have the Chargers winning. I'm confident in their pass rush.
Yeah.
I don't look. We saw what the Buccaneers did to the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. Happens with any quarterback. You get a quality pass rush on a quarterback, they're going to struggle. Chargers, I think their front seven wins them the game tonight.
And this the difference too. No Tyreek Hill, which I get it. First game didn't matter, but when you're under duress, you want a guy like Tyreek Hill. What other questions do we got here?
Let's see. I am losing my mind here. More total yards and touchdowns this year, Peyton or JJ? Both for JJ.
Yeah.
I think JJ is going to explode. Especially look at the schedule. I mean, he's got UConn this week. There's another 250, 300 yards, 3-4 touchdowns. The yards might be very close, considering how Michigan play on offense. But the touchdowns, I think, hands down, it will probably be JJ by the end of the year.
I like this. Jake, your opinion, Devin Singletary or Cordell Patterson?
Ooh,
Cordell
Patterson.
is leaving off right where he left off last
15
year.
points last week, right?
I mean, yeah. He's a guy I picked up in free agency last year, and he won me my league. So I'm with you, Jake. I'd go with Cordell. Adam,
what?
Adam, you could play Michael DeSanta from Grand Theft Auto. You'd be perfect.
That's awesome.
Mailsack, can Juicy get a matching jacket like Adam? That'd be dope. We should match one
you
day.
should have matching outfits.
It has to be the right occasion, though, Fish. It's got to be something.
What is the right occasion?
It would have been Stafford winning the Super Bowl, but that time's already passed us. So we got to find another moment.
Jeff, why won't you play Lentz and Madden?
Oh boy,
Ryan, I will play Madden with you eventually. I'm sorry,
Jeff doesn't want the smoke.
I don't want the smoke with Ryan. I've just been slacking. I haven't been playing, man.
One of my great accomplishments as a kid.
Yeah.
Remember the game? Was it Madden 2010 with Larry and Palomalu on the cover? I had a 56-4 online record.
Oh, you were dominating
over those first 3-4 weeks.
That was
when
one of
it
the
was
best
released.
Maddens.
Yeah. That was my one of my best summers of my life. It came out late August. September was coming around. I played as much as I could because I wasn't allowed to play during the school year. And then I didn't touch Madden for the rest of the year. It was kind of awful.
Jesse asked Mailbag, is Maddie still alive?
Yeah, she is.
Yeah,
she's grinding. She's got a very difficult job.
Yeah.
Yeah, Maddie's doing a lot of great stuff with the Detroit Lions right now. Be careful with Patterson. Williams went down in that game, and they gave him more touches because of it. Even if they did, Cordero is just reliable. I think he's just reliable. Let's see. I bowled a 300 in Wii Bowling. Ryan, go to hell. Ryan, have you ever played Wii Golf? My dad loves Wii Golf.
Yeah.
My dad's insane at it, actually.
Wii Golf is...
I think his scores -14 through 9 holes. Yeah, my dad's
Dad's
insane.
a legend.
Yeah. Let's see. I picked up Devin Dune. Oh, okay. That's the Baltimore receiver in my league. He scored 21 points last week. What are your thoughts on the guy? Week to week, Mark Andrews is the one. He got all those points from those 2 touchdown catches. You remove one of them, he's only a 13, 14-point scorer. It's not ideal. He is a start him if you have to kind of guy, in my opinion. I wouldn't keep him in my lineup moving forward. All right.
Look at Jesse's question.
Adam, go ahead, read it.
When/if MSU wins Saturday versus Washington, are you actually going to talk about the team you're cheering for, or are you going to be blowing J.J. McCarthy Monday about his game versus UConn?
My job is to put on. Listen, Jesse.
Jesse from the top ropes.
Yeah.
Listen, Jesse. Number one, my job.
Hey, it's not wrong.
It's not to appease my fandom for the year. My job is to put together a rundown.
Right.
That is most suited for all of you motherfuckers.
You got to talk about both. Yeah, we'll talk about both.
So no. We'll see how the game goes. If Michigan State loses, they're going to get creamed on Monday. If they win, we'll talk about the game. And if JJ goes out and has another dominant performance, well, then I'm going to have 2 middle fingers up to every Michigan fan that talked to me about Cade McNamara over the summer.
Absolutely.
So you're going to get the best of both worlds, Jesse. Stop talking shit. I love it.
Supposed to tweet about Peyton Thorne throwing 2 picks and looking like ass.
Shut the hell up, Mike.
But, I mean,
who the hell said you can talk about Michigan State?
Yeah, for context, Mike's a Michigan fan, so there you go. The good dynamic.
We'll move on.
Shut the hell up.
Aren't you a State fan for a reason?
Shut the hell up, Mike. 10-14, bitch. Talk about my quarterback. You didn't even have a quarterback going into the year. Shut the hell up.
I love it, man. I love it.
All right, that's it for today's show. Thank you guys so much. Always fun. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for tuning in with us. Appreciate Anthony Broome and Owen for coming on today.
Yes.
Tomorrow, jam-packed show. We got the Lions-Washington coverage. We're going to go over the games, break them down, position by positional battle. You know the deal. We got it all ready for you tomorrow. I'm excited. We'll get our betting picks, of course. Can't go Friday without betting picks. Mike, thanks so much for covering today. Fish, go to hell.
Thank you.
Jeff, appreciate you as always. All of you at home, have a good rest of your Thursday. Enjoy Thursday Night Football, and we will see you tomorrow morning.
Thank you.
Bye. Go watch football. Enjoy it.